Are we live, Brian?
We are live.
Okay, I gotta get it pulled up on your YouTube channel here. Oh, I see
All
the
right.
link now. All right, guys. Sorry, we had a little technical difficulties there at the top. Brian and I were fearful that our channels and our Periscope were part of the attack on the elite. The Elon Musks, the Kanye West, the Lolz of the world. Brian, do you share this conspiracy?
I do now. I do now. It wasn't because then I was an idiot and made it private. It's probably because they're after us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have had to be very careful with our content ever since our live stream on Saturday. There have been the Illuminati cabals of shadowy figures have been kind of after us. So, we're trying to lay low a bit.
That Illuminati would have fit in really well with in about the third and a half hour of that live stream. We might even spoke on it. So we should say thanks to Bobby Gomes, Chris Randone, Alex Baker for showing up, hanging out.
Yeah, I mean, we had extended the invite to some MMA thought leaders, and we ended up getting a KTOV thought leader in return. And so we got a typical show tonight. Although Brian and I will both caveat we've been a bit busy today. I know Brian's got some NASCAR lineups to build. I didn't actually get to my PGA lineups. I was too busy squeezing in my MMA, which I believe are already tanked, Brian, as my highest owned fighter here at 72%. Diana Belbita was submitted in the first round. So I think I can pretty much just set this card on fire.
Ouch. Yeah, that's going to hurt. I had a ton of... Let's see here. What is that? Abdul Razak Al Hassan.
Okay, I didn't have too much of him.
What was the girl who just who got it?
The girl I had that bombed was Diana Belbita.
Diana Belbita. Okay, I might have had a lot of her. Uh-oh.
See, I would doubt that you had a ton of Abdul because he was projected to be like 50% owned.
Yeah, my fade looked like Jack Shore, who was pretty high owned too. And he was like a 90% favorite to win at lock, coming up to the lock here, DFS lock. That's pretty damn high for UFC.
Yeah, it feels. I'm already having flashbacks. I mean, to our Saturday night show, watching MMA DFS during our live stream. It feels good to be back again in the saddle.
Yeah, no, those are good sweats. So we didn't have a good one. On Saturday, no one was live really of our grouping.
No, yeah.
I think Randone said he was live in the 555 for a little bit there.
I mean, I definitely believe him. I think you can trust everything he says. All right. So OA's in the chat. He says he came for the Tout Wars analysis. Brian, why don't you, for people who are maybe unfamiliar with what's going on, set the landscape for them. What's been going on with these Tout Wars?
Well, there's been an influx of DFS sites popping up in an already pretty saturated market, I would say. I don't know about what you think. Not all the sites that are currently in are great, so more competition, the better, I think. But and the interesting thing, I think, with all these new sites popping up, and Peter, you can always tell me what you think, is the amount of guys moving from site to site. It's not just like some new site with some new guy. It's guys who are going and coming. And so that leads to a lot of Twitter chatter amongst them. And it's kind of heated up in the past few days. And I wanted to contribute to that and make it even hotter. I did a little poll, and also here was the behind this is I wanted to convert these to odds. Now that it's over, I can.
Okay.
I'll put these to odds, and obviously a 5-year bet they won't, no one will ever want to do, but at least there's some little price discovery mechanism here, so people can make up their own thing. I thought the interesting thing was Draft Cheats beat out Run Pure, and he just announced
we don't even know what it looks like. The one thing I will say about this poll is I feel like it's a little skewed in that Osimo is, by far the most established site with a proven track record and a longevity, where these sites are all unproven commodities that have barely rolled out. So it's a little hard to compare those.
I also probably have more Osmo followers than all the other sites too. So it's definitely not fair, but the odds will show it there. So that, it's going to be whatever minus 200 or whatever.
Yeah. And it would actually be interesting if Twitter allowed you to do a bigger poll to include 10 people or whatever.
These guys were also talking shit. That's why I put them all in there.
They're all talking shit. Yeah.
But and the next one I wanted to do was who were the other guys I wanted to put in there? God damn, now I can't find it.
ETR probably.
ETR, yeah, definitely. ETR. I was thinking about putting them in there, but then I throw DC in the last one. ETR. Mitch's rise or fall. He
wanted in the mix. Yeah,
he wanted in the mix. So I'm going to throw him in there. Who's the other one? And there was another one in there that I've never even heard of that got like a bunch of likes. Let's see. It's like win something in the title. Can you see it in there?
I'm scrolling it here. Was it JM to win? Was it his?
I don't know if he was running. It didn't say JM in the title. It said win daily or something.
Yeah.
Here, let me look.
Oh, Win Daily Sports. There it is. Yeah, I've literally never heard of that in my life.
And one of these guys, a requirement I wanted was like you have to be interested in sports betting because I think it's kind of a no brainer. Somebody from sports betting is going to make a huge site.
Yeah.
And your DFS niche market 5 years from now, you're not going to be as big as the site that does DFS and is awesome at sports betting.
Yeah.
So these smaller sites that don't even do sports betting, I don't even want to pull them up there. But then I was going to just do like a bracket. So these 4, then the next 4, and then the next 4 after that I thought about doing was the legacy sites, like the publicly traded ones. So Roto Grinders, Fantasy Labs, Daily Roto, and Elite Guru.
Yeah.
I thought that would be a good one.
Yeah, it is interesting. I feel like getting into sports betting has been almost like a cliche for DFS sites to talk about. You hear, the impending gold rush. And I actually do believe that, but I don't actually see a lot of sites positioning themselves for that. And I think a big part of that, though, on the other hand, is like doing really good sports betting content is really, really hard.
Yeah, for sure. Good. I mean, good is definitely the problem. The thing, I mean, you can make a lot of money and not be good, though. That's what I'm getting at. So that's why I put in there the biggest, however you want to define that.
Yeah.
I don't care how you want to define it. Define it however you feel. So it could be like, Osmo makes the best tools or something, but Run Pure is the biggest. They have the most users or something like that. They have the most. Yeah. They make the most money. Who knows?
Well, and it's honestly similar to DFS. So like the eternal struggle, right, is this idea of actionable, positive EV information that helps you win money and entertainment and, sports betting content or DFS content as a pure entertainment product. Because at the end of the day, the entire industry itself, even though money is what drives everything, it's still an entertainment product. And people have varying degrees of what they look for. For some people, it might be the big personality, the sports betting. They just love watching them talk. And sure, they'll tail some of their bets. Who cares if they're just flipping coins, right? And then you might have this other site that is focused on tools. And again, we know the win rates for the best sports bettors. You might be at 57%, 58%. So we're literally talking about like a 7% difference. So it's like, how much entertainment quality are you willing to sacrifice for that extra, 6 or 7% edge? And I think that's where this all gets really interesting. And when we see these tout wars, we're all kind of like on that sliding scale of like, are you focusing on entertainment and personalities, or are you really committed to making your subscribers plus EV bettors? Right.
And here's something too that I, as I put in these garbage NASCAR lineups I made in 2 seconds, people get pissed off about touts and just picks and all that type of stuff. We joke about it all the time, but like we're probably different market than your average Joe or whatever. My thought on it is like back when Soylent came out, you remember Soylent? Like it's the pre-made
Soy Boys.
It's the pre-made. Well, when that first came out, I ordered some. I liked it. I'm like, oh, I want more of these, but the carbs are too high in it. So I was looking for a carb variation of it.
Yeah.
And I was going on Reddit and everything, and like this guy posted, and it's like this. I think it was like keto. I can't remember, with keto chow or something like that. And like in all the comments, everyone's like, why are you looking for a pre-made one? You could just buy this keto chow and make it yourself. Right. And I'm like, hey, asshole, I'm lazy as fuck. I don't want to spend 20 minutes making my stupid shake. I'll pay the extra couple bucks. And like to them, like it made no sense. Right. It's like, why would you waste $2 for every shake? It's insane. It's like, cause I'm a sucker and I'm lazy and I want that product. Like different people want different products. So like me and you might be like picks are for idiots. Like who would do this? There's no way this guy wins at 57% clip because he would just be betting on his own unless he's gotten totally blackballed from all sports books, which is possible. Well, can he prove it too? And stuff like that. Some people just want to like be in a, let's call it a war room and chat with a bunch of other fucking dudes coming up with all these narratives. Who knows what they do in there? And like being like a little tribe of DFS guys and coming up with lineups that way. Some people just want fucking Davis Maddock and Draft Cheat to tell them, give me three bets you like right now.
Yeah.
They're not even line shopping.
Yeah.
Much less anything else. And it's none of your fucking business is my opinion. So like, I'm all for touts and picks. And if you want to protect the fucking people, you know, call your local fucking legislature, you asshole, even if you want to do that.
Right. And to your point, like I think what it all really comes down to probably, Brian, is expectation setting, right? Like I've tailed Draft Cheat's sports betting cards the past 2 weeks. I missed the boat on when to tail Draft Cheat. I've taken an absolute bath. Am I bad at Draft Cheat? No, I made those bets because it was fun. He did some research. He had a slightly more informed opinion on these than me. And I said, it'll be fun to have some money down on these. You know, that's why I think the expectation setting have. So it's, how are you positioning yourself? And are you selling lies? Are you saying all I do is give out winners and then people feel hoodwinked and disillusioned? Or are you saying, look, I did my research. These are the bets I'm making. Feel free to tail if you'd like. And if not, move along. Whereas there are people who it's like, Draft Cheat makes it fun on Twitter when we all win. It's going to be fun to all victory lap together on those wins. We just got to be willing to eat the shit when we lose too.
Yeah, for sure. And like if a movie said this is the best sci-fi movie of all time and you bought it and it sucked, like who gives a shit? You know what I'm saying? So like even if they lie and say they're good, in my opinion, you're an adult making a purchase, a voluntary exchange between two adults. And everyone else should stay the fuck out of it. So I don't really care. So when people talk about shit about all these sites and the directions, that's why I say biggest in the way you see it, in the way you want to define it.
Yeah.
If you want to say that Vegas Dave sucks balls and he'll never win, that might be true. So for you, he's not the biggest. But then maybe someone else is like, oh, he's got 80,000 Twitter followers. He's the biggest. He sells the most packages or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for me, I don't give a shit. Like I just think it's just an interesting topic and kind of fun. But yeah, like touts get so much shit on, and it's just stay the fuck out of it then, superstar. Like you think you're so smart because you know like that this guy's probably not a winning sports bettor. Ooh, you're so fucking smart. Leave them all alone. Who cares?
Well, and that's the thing that I like boiling it down to actual percentages, because a lot of these bullshit wars are literally over like less than 10 percentage points. Like I use that example of like, if you just flip a coin and you bet into no holds markets, so you are just flipping a coin, you're a 50-50 sports bettor. Like lots of people like doing flips, like it's fun. And so the best guys are grinding out a 5 to 6 percentage edge. So we're arguing over 5 to 6 percentage points. Or I like zero RB, and I've seen the base rates on the studies. When you look at the best ball win rates, it'll propel you to like a 13 or 14% win rate. The guys aren't doing it are at about a 7 to 8% win rate. We're again talking about a 6 percentage point advantage that creates these tribalistic wars on Twitter Twitter that, trust me, I like stoking the flames on them. But the whole point is we're talking about relatively minuscule edges in the micro that, of course, when large sums of money and over long periods of time can compound into really large victories. But in the micro, we're arguing about almost just minuscule, ridiculous things.
Sure, that's fair. I think Fast Eddie Fear, he was one of the guys who was kind of getting into it with Alex, just slightly from what I saw on Twitter. He had a live stream. I didn't catch it, but I think he was going to mention something like that. Like, what's the difference between, like, if you have a guy projected on your site at 66.6 and on my site he's 66.2, right? Like, why do you think you're so much better? I don't know if that was his point, but I think was something he was going to kind of try to get at. I would say that actually does matter, but
yeah.
But I mean, just to agree with, like, you're arguing over small differences. Here's another thing. Here's another funny thing about this is, like, all the sports betting sites are garbage right now, right? Can we agree on that? Like, I mean, someone could probably show me something. Right Angle Sports is supposed to be awesome, or they used to be. Who knows now? But they're almost all garbage. Their information sucks. They have you have to, read a lot of old school sports books, or, some of the new ones. If you read the right ones, are pretty decent too, I think. But, like, none of that shit's out there, like, easily digestible. The tools all suck. There's just a whole bunch of stuff missing, right? So when people are, like, guessing at who's going to be the biggest, they don't even know what they're going to do. They don't even know what it's going to look like, right? What tools are you expecting? Are those tools what people are going to want, or is it going to be the picks? Are they going to be a pick? You know what I'm saying? So, like, this is just a huge guess, all this stuff.
In another element of the dynamic you were just describing, even outside of picks or tools is, and it sounds very new wavy and, whatever to say this, but it's community. People want to be part of communities. Why does Barstool have such a massive audience? Because people feel like they're a part of a tribe, part of a community of like-minded individuals. And some of these sites that might succeed with, subpar tools and picks, the reason they're going to succeed is because of their community building aspect. And all these sites have their Discords, they have their Slacks, but community manifests in other ways. It's we all rally around each other when someone wins a GPP with our shared avatar. There's all these things that, maybe they're hosting events where they meet up. So people look to these things and they say to themselves, what's going to be the most fun community? Who are the people that I identify with? And I think that's another big thing that people are looking for when they sign up for a DFS site. As cheesy as that may sound, I think it's subconsciously influencing people's decisions.
Yeah, sure. I could see that. That's just another piece of the puzzle too, is, like, which one will, maybe it's a combination of all the things we've kind of mentioned there. Which one's going to take off? It's going to be at least three or four big ones, I would say. Kind of like what we have now in DFS.
Right, because we had this interesting pendulum, right, where it was mainly all the tout sites were these big established companies, Roto Grinders, Fantasy Labs, those kind of companies, Daily Roto. And, I kind of credit ETR for kind of paving the way for a lot of these people being like, wait, we can cut out the middleman. We can just get our own payment processor, and we can just provide all the content on a WordPress site and charge people for it and not have to give a cut to our employers. And I do think this is also a trend playing out in all kinds of content, right? Like the Patreon model has exploded. There's podcasts like Chapo House and stuff who are making, $1 million a year off of their podcast because they've just cut out the middleman. And so I do think the pendulum's going to swing, though, too far in that direction. And we're going to have an oversaturation where I can't go pay $5 or $30 for every content site a month. Like, it's just not feasible. And so some of these guys are going to lose out. And I think that's kind of what your poll is hinting at. Like, who is actually going to survive this when people don't have $1,000 in disposable income to spend on tout sites?
Yeah. And doing a lot of things can also maybe keep you alive. So if you do DFS, season long and sports betting, something like that. Then they could just go, I'll just spend my whatever $40 here every month. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I bet whoever wins is probably, I'm not gonna like it. Not like them personally, but just like their product. I'm like, this is what the fucking noobs use.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, Fantasy Sharpie, he wants to know, Brian, are you a free agent? Brian, are you make your big announcement? The big new. Someone actually was wondering if you were launching your own PGA site. Everyone wants to know, do you even want to be a tout, Brian? That's a better question.
It's my life's dream to be a DFS tout. No, I am not making a PGA site. I like I said, DFS sites are saturated, I think. Mm-hmm. So I would not start a DFS site. Although I have been contemplating doing something with sports betting and more of the not like picks and stuff like that though.
Yeah.
I don't really want to get into it, but like, yeah, it wouldn't look like what you would expect. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say DFS sites are definitely saturated, but you would easily be able to get a lot of subs if you wanted to sell your projections. People would be very interested in your projections.
Yeah, maybe, probably. I'm not going to do that though, most likely.
Yeah. And like the other part that comes out of it is I'm guessing that, I mean, to make that work, and I'm sure you're thinking this through too, is like, well, not only that, but you'd have to be doing shows and you'd have to be doing a lot of content surrounding the projections. And just knowing you, my guess is that you wouldn't want that entire content workload.
Yeah, for sure. There's no way. I don't want to do customer service. Oh my God. That would be awful. Plus I'd be horrible at it. I'd be like, fuck you, leave then.
Yeah,
don't give a shit.
It is a lot of work. Definitely credit to all those people who have, launched their own small businesses and they're dealing with all of those aspects, because I don't know about you, Brian. Actually, I think I do know about you, but for me, it's like there are so many things I don't want to do. Like one of the reasons I love this streaming site we use, StreamYard, is because it is so easy to use and it doesn't take any stress or thought on me. I just press a couple buttons and we're good. Because what I want to do is be on shows. I want to talk to people I like. I want to be funny. I want to have fun and I want to entertain, and I don't want to do anything else. So shout out to the people who are like on the backside doing production and all of this stuff, because that shit sucks to do if you don't like it.
For sure. That was the first thing you asked me when I'm like, hey, you want to do a show together many moons ago in the before times. And you said, do you have a producer? You said, oh, like, actually I do. And also all those workers behind the scenes and just the entrepreneur. So like for ETR, I'm a big Taylor Cabey fan. I think that guy's a stud. So like, if you get associated with him, I think you got a good shot. And he's like, cause he's a legit entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I'm friends with all those guys at ETR, so you can take what I say with a grain of salt, but like the way that they have gone for quality over quantity with their hires and the kind of like slow pace that they've done and gone about it, like, because there has been this nature to like this land grab, this arms race. It's who can get first, who can hire the most people, who can get the splashiest announcements. And you just see kind of ETR just quietly hiring the smartest people and just kind of building the thing. And it's just the classic, what's the thing they say in writing classes? Show, don't tell, right? You don't hear them screaming about everything they're doing. They're just quietly assembling the smartest and best people to do their content. And ultimately, I think that's going to be very profitable for them in the long term.
Yeah, I just don't think establishing the run is going to help you in basketball. You don't even run in basketball or baseball.
It is, they really have an issue.
They have runs in baseball, so maybe that'll work. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with it. Maybe they just go straight ETR.
See, I was trying to think of that the other day too. People were suggesting like establish the post or something. I think it needs to maybe. What about like establish the dunk? Like at least it kind of rhymes.
God, so they're gonna do multiple names, just a different name for each product.
No, I'm just joking. And
okay.
I think it's just gonna stay establish the run because it was a double entendre. Obviously, had the heavy football, but they also mean it in the like gambling sense, like establish a run of wins.
Okay, that's fair enough.
So,
and they already do sports, like some sports betting, right?
Yeah,
they do those prop bet sheets or whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Adam would do some of his favorite prop bets. So yeah, I'm sure they'll start to dabble a little more, but knowing them, I would guess it's going to be like, hey, these are the bets I'm making. These are the prices I made them at. You know, I doubt you'll ever see a lock of the week from ETR.
Yeah.
I did want to pull up this thread, Brian. It kind of dovetails on what we've been talking about. This is from the real Ricky D. He had a thread today that got some interesting discussion and kind of, again, dovetails with the, you know, the kind of what I consider the content provider's paradox of, do you know, be really entertaining and bring a lot of people in, or do you kind of really discuss the nuances and game theory and all of this range of outcome stuff that comes into DFS? I'll just read here. The missing link between winning at DFS and teaching winning DFS is the inability to discuss an algorithm. Algorithms and models are designed to optimally make hundreds of decisions for you. It's not something you can easily break down for an audience. And if you have a winning one, why would you want to? Very good players don't talk about certainties and conviction plays like regular touts do. They set their inputs and have the model create a range of acceptable plays in rosters. It's not sexy or sellable. Did you feel like you were being subtweeted there, Brian?
What does subtweet mean?
Subtweet is like when someone's talking about you without explicitly adding you.
Okay. And so you're saying that I'm agreeing with him then, right?
No, I'm saying that you are someone that I think you have done a good job of kind of bridging where, like, you don't give picks, but you've created these evergreen strategy videos that really speak to the nuance of DFS. And it's more the old teach you how to fish mentality opposed to giving you a pick, giving you a fish, and you just have to keep coming back from that fish.
Yeah, okay, sure. Notice he says winning twice there. So when we were talking earlier, like if you don't care if you're like a winner and you just want to get a bet down, you know, you could go wherever you want and whoever you like, and you know, I love it. Have at it. So he's just saying, like, yeah, specifically winning. It's going to be tough to just win without algorithms. Now, can you go back up to the beginning, please? Sorry. So yeah, without the inability to discuss an algorithm. So I'm not sure entirely what he means there. What I would say is just like, you have to basically take it. He has to give it to you, or she has to give you their algorithm. Discussing it would help. So like when a couple shows ago, when was it Cody Main? I can't remember the guy from ETR.
Yeah.
You know, he wanted my variables. I'm like, I'm fucking giving you my variables, dude. So like, that's close. But yeah, I would say it's really just like, you have to, yeah, I guess you could tell them exactly what you did.
Yeah.
To get there. And then if they have any skills at all, they could kind of redo what you tell them. I mean, that's exactly what I think. Like, I don't think you can keep all these variables in your head. I think it's impossible. Maybe someone who specializes and is really smart can get an edge still in one sport, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, if I think so, I still would say no. So without modeling and game theory, I don't see how you could win. Could be wrong. What do I know?
Well, and I think I fall into a subset of players, and I would guess it's a very similar subset to our audience who watches this, and that I understand the nuances of DFS. I understand range of outcomes. I understand probabilities. I know that why locks of the week are absurd in DFS. On the other hand, I do not have any interest in doing my own modeling. Even if you taught me how to do it, I would not want to do it. It just isn't. I don't want to say it's not intellectually interesting. It actually is to me. I just don't think it's how I want to spend my time. I don't think I'm necessarily particularly good at it. So I think for people like me, then it's kind of the interesting thing of how do we still be a positive EV better, even though we're not going to be making our own algorithms and models. And that's, I think, an interesting discussion.
I would say you just take the middle of the road approach. We've talked about this, Peter, off air a bunch.
Yeah.
I think. And it's like, you have to take take the best sites out there, their content somehow, and then apply the game theory aspects as best as you can. And I think honestly, you could still win that way. You might not be the best. You might not be able to play like the bat, like with the high stakes and stuff like that. But you could definitely still win. And I would say it's better than being the narrative guy who like specializes in sport. I think it'd be way easier and probably have a way better shot at winning than being that. Like, I don't know why I keep mentioning him, but he just comes up with Fast Eddie Fear. So he does model, I guess. He never shows his model, never shows his projections, or at least he didn't. I don't know if he's going to do that in FTN. But he just talks, he just talks and he goes, oh, this guy's out. So this guy will get 35 minutes and this guy will get, put him at about 46% or 46 projected. And he guesses at ownership and stuff like that. I would say the middle of the road approach would be way better than that. Way easier. You get a better shot at doing making a profit. So find someone's projections you like, and then read as much game theory and how to adjust those things. We're talking GPPs here, obviously.
Yeah, I was just going to clarify that. Yeah.
Yeah, and whatever, and then do your research on like compare. I said this point a few times, and I'm going to say it one more time just because I think it's important. And it seems stupid, but I think it's important, where you set your process up that you like, compare it to good players, and let's say you got that process like it's kind of good. Compare it over multiple weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks, because you got to keep the process the same, because what'll happen is you'll start changing it, and if you start changing it drastically, then you're just a narrative guy. You're just narrative with numbers. It's pseudo math once you start. So, and the reason you do it over multiple weeks is because some weeks a value play will suck with your process, and some weeks he won't. And you can't tell that if you're switching your process all the time. So, like if you've done 10 solid weeks, NFL, or 10 solid days, slates, let's say, and like there's like some days the value is fade and some day the values isn't. Right? Now you're onto something, right? If you're always fading all the top guys, or if you're always chalk, then you're probably not right. And if you're just sitting in there tweaking, and then once you can get confident in your process, like that, this kind of middle of the road process, it's so much easier, because you're like, oh, Webb Simpson's chalk, but I still have 60% of them, but that's fine because 2 weeks ago he was chalk and I had none of them. Right? Yeah. Shit like that. And you're not guessing anymore. Like, oh, should I play 80% TJ McDonald?
Yeah. And one thing to kind of add, and then I want to hit a couple of questions in the chat to all this, is it also depends on what your goals are and also what your content or contest selection is, right? Like if your goal is to be a profitable player and you're only playing the like $30,000 3 max contests, that are super top heavy, or 20 max. Sorry. I just mean the ones that are super large contests. Yeah, you're going to eat shit over and over and over again. If you want to play the 100-man contests or whatever, that's when you can really kind of tell, hey, am I an above average player? Whereas I think Brian would agree, like the way I play, where I'm only playing these big tournaments, I am just at peace with knowing I'm going to lose a lot of slates. And I don't get down on it. Like, sure, maybe I do a little bit in the moment, but I understand in the macro that this is just what I'm doing. I'm just taking a very contrarian, high upside strategy, and I just want to bink one of these days. And I just kind of have the constitution and the bankroll management to not feel sick to my stomach about it. And now some of the questions here in the chat. Fantasy Sharpie says, how much math and statistics knowledge do you think you need to actually develop a decent projections model?
None. I think, besides like high school level, knowing how to read and write and simple math you need to know, but like beyond that, like if you've taken whatever the mandatory college classes were, I don't even remember at this point, but that's more than enough there's so many good software programs out there too now. Speaking of entrepreneur, they have made life a lot easier on us with Excel and stats programs and scrapers and all sorts of stuff that you would never be able to do in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, probably even mid 2000s. So you don't need to sit there with a pen and paper and, Van Nieman's game theory books to figure this shit out. Like, the game theory is the tough part. That's the tough part. How do you apply it? What are we doing here? Thinking about good mini games to extrapolate to this larger game and then applying it. That stuff's tougher than projections. Projections are pretty easy, and it really depends. We're not reinventing the wheel here, right? Because we have Vegas. We're not sports bettors. We're fantasy players, so we can use the sports bettors. In some ways, you kind of do have to reinvent the wheel because there's just not enough information out there in a lot of these sports. So you basically are a sports bettor. But you can always at least compare something to the Vegas odds or props or whatever and like see how far you're off, or just straight up steal them and then adjust them. Like you don't need, for projections, you don't need a ton. And obviously there's tons of optimizers out there. Don't need that anymore. You had to do that in Excel when we first started, which was super annoying. And then you don't need that much. You do. It doesn't hurt though. Especially, there's a difference between math and statistics too. Statistics, like, do you know what a linear regression is? Do you know what a nonlinear regression is? Do you know how to use R at all? And do you know how to do OSS and cross-validation to test your stuff? That's not math. That's just knowing how to use the stats programs and what applies in what situation. And that definitely is, you got to look it up and figure it out. That's not, but so that's way harder than the math you need to know.
And Sean, I mean, you kind of hit on this before, but maybe you can kind of give your nuanced answer again to put a fine point on it here. But he says, so do you think that without modeling your own projections, you can't have long-term success?
I mean, so long-term is like 5 years from now. You probably do need to model for that kind of long-term success. But right now, I don't think so. I think right now you can use your favorite content providers' projections. Hopefully they're decent. I mean, that's why Awesemo pulled so high, is because everyone knows his are good. So like using those projections is, and it sucks for me. I wish those weren't available, honestly. I wish that no one made good projections. It would help me out a lot. But it really does matter because like the difference, especially PGA, the difference between the golfers is really tight. A lot of the golfers is like half a point or something like that. So if you're off, the optimizer is going to just get rid of this guy who should be owned. And it really can screw you up being off, I don't know, 8% or something like that from optimal projections. But I think you still can win if you pick the right projections and then utilize them. You can't just take Awesemo's projections, put them in Fantasy Cruncher, click enter, and make money. It's not going to happen. Well, you could get lucky. But leaving that aside, let's say you have to play 100 slates before you can cash out. You're going to lose. And he would say the same thing. And they have a bunch of strategy videos on there on how to use it too. So, what do you think, Peter?
Yeah, well, the one thing I was and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but so when he says that, when he asked that question about long-term success, I'm also going to assume you're answering this from your perspective, which is you are max entering, virtually every tournament. Your goal is to get first place in these big tournaments with big prizes. And I would just say for me too, it's like, I'm personally not doing that. I'm focusing on the smaller contests that Brian literally isn't allowed to enter. And I think, don't you think that might be on a curve that if you are really specific with your contest selection and, not just playing all the big ones, that there is maybe a more feasible route to profitability without a model?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I wasn't even considering that. That's true. And what you said earlier too is completely true. If you're playing the Millie, right? There's 150,000 entries. Let's say you have one entry, and let's say everyone's even. You have a 1 in 150,000 shot, right? So it would take 150,000 years to realize your expected value.
Unless you're RBX88.
Unless you're RBX, he has a 10% chance of winning Millie every single time. So we're all dogs to RBX88. So yeah, you do that. You play in the low. Oh, and how many times are we going to say this, Peter? Shows in a row. Super Draft, play Super Draft, play Fantasy Draft, play Yahoo.
And I'm exhibit A of like the stubborn person. I deposited $500 on Super Draft a few weeks ago to try to play MMA. I didn't get it in time to make lineups. And I keep every time, like I could have gone and done Super Draft tonight, but just because I'm not as familiar with my process for building lineups and, importing them over there, I just haven't done it. Even though I know as a player that's looking to be profitable and the fact that I might have a little bit better edge there, that I should be focusing on, and I still don't do it out of pure laziness. And I think that actually kind of speaks to what you're hinting at, is like, there's all these little small edges. And if you truly want to be a profitable player that doesn't use a model, you have to be hunting out all of these edges. Oh, there's a contest that isn't going to fill and it's going to have a little overlay. Boom, I got to get in that. Oh, we're doing iRacing DFS and the starting positions aren't released till 10 minutes, and Osimo updates his projections before that, and 80% of the field isn't doing that. Boom, those are contests I need to be playing in. So it's this accumulation of small edges that over time can result in you being a slightly profitable player. The question is, are you, willing to go to that effort to hunt those out, or do you get lazy like me sometimes?
That for sure. Yeah. And we talked about this earlier too, with sports betting. I guarantee once, let's say 45 states have legal sports betting. Let's say that's eventually the number. I guarantee like 90% of people still won't line shop. And you're just going to lose that way. You're not going to even break even. It's just, that's what using these other sites is line shopping. It's like, okay, it's less vague. The players aren't as good. It's better to play here. And maybe in certain sports, better to play somewhere else. But yeah, if you want, if let's say that's 2% or something, if you get down $100,000 over the year, whatever, how much is that? I don't even know how much that is. Like $200 a day or whatever, $300 a day.
I'm like, is this the pace I'm on? I'm actually looking at the math. 273 a day. Good thing I do not play my usual volume on every single day.
Yeah, there you go. And that's a big difference. Just those couple clicks. And if you're just playing like people with 100,000 people in the tournament, you could lose the whole year. It's tough to win those.
Yeah. Okay. OA has a question in the chat, getting a little bit more into specifics, but talking about, I think he's kind of referencing everyone using, like if everyone's using Osimo's projections, he says, at what point does randomness wash out differences in projections? Which we're kind of getting back to the whole, what does randomness do again? But I figured I'd pass that along.
It's high. Well, it depends on the spread too, of the highest projected player to the lowest in the sport. But like it's up there. I think it's like 300% classic, something like that, and then you're going to get a pretty flat spread. It's probably more like 500%, and then it almost doesn't matter. But I guess if you do enough runs, if you made 10,000 crunches, it still should show
a Malcolm Gladwell approved number of crunches.
I was thinking about him the other day before we started this, about touts. And it's like, touts are like Malcolm Gladwell. He's the same fucking thing. He reads the research of other people who know what he doesn't, right? Like, and looks at numbers and comes up with a story and a narrative. That's what touts do. They're like, okay, well, this guy says this, and here's the reasons, and here's some projections, does a lot of research for you, and gives you their Malcolm Gladwell pick of the day. I don't see a difference, except Malcolm Gladwell, is this held up on a pedestal and wins a bunch of awards, I'm assuming, and touts are a bunch of pieces of shit in the DFS world. It's like it's your money. If you don't like it, don't spend it. Don't spend it on them.
And another point I will say to people kind of wondering, it's always the thing, like, what do I have to do to be profitable? And I think you have to be intellectually curious about all of this stuff to the point that you have to be the guy you're reviewing your lineups, you're reviewing what top people are doing, you're back testing stuff, you are looking and trying to approach this from all these different directions. You want to see how many lineups are being duped. There's all of these different things that you need to be doing. And I think that comes from a curiosity. And I am, like I said, there's some things that I am curious about and I will do, but I know there's also a limit to my curiosity, but I also am realistic about my chances of winning. I'm not in delusion. Like, why am I not winning? Well, I also know there's some things I don't put in the work for, but I don't want to do that. But at least I'm realistic about it. So if you want to be a profitable player, you also better be damn curious and damn willing to do the work to get good and get better, because it's not going to be easy.
Yeah. And if you're the guy who wants to be that, like, I want to be profitable, blah, 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 and then you're going to Vegas, Dave, for your information, like, it's like, dude, you get what you get. Like, what do you expect? Like, that's not going to make you a winner. I mean, maybe Vegas, Dave, he wins all the time, apparently, but most likely you're not going to be a winner with that without putting in a decent amount of effort. But there's a lot of people giving out good information where you might be able to break even. Sports betting, even I bet in the first few years of sports betting here, I bet you'll be able to make money from tools and touts and bonuses and stuff like that and line shopping. I don't think it's gonna be all that hard to make a couple grand at least, as long as you're not an idiot about your bankroll.
Yeah, and I mean, there are, like, props are still one of the softest things out there. It's why the sports book limit them, like, you'll get banned if you are nailing these props for the max over and over. But if you just want to do $50 props and get these soft lines before they move, like, you can definitely be profitable. But again, it's the definition of, like, by the letter of the law, yes, you are profitable. Is it enough to quit your job? Is it enough? Like, what is your goals of profitability? It's the scaling of it with sports betting that I think becomes particularly tricky, because the things that there aren't limits on are betting spreads, and spreads are super efficient. And any sports book will let you bet $10,000 on, picking one of the sides, So I think that's another question, is when you say you want to be profitable, to what extent? Is it literally just saying I'm in the green as a sports bettor? That's very realistic. Is it, I want to make, $50,000 sports betting this year? Okay, that's going to be a little harder.
Yeah. No, if you want to make a living off of it, good luck. There's, like, whatever, 1% of people can do that, maybe less than that. But you never know, like Rufus Peabody, maybe he signs with one of these companies and he's legit. So, like, Right Angle Sports apparently used to be able to win. They were a betting syndicate, and then they gave it like 2 years of giving out plus EV bets. Like, they would, I was just reading a book on this the other day, and, like, I guess their syndicate would bet it, then they would, to their providers, give out those lines after they bet it, and then the providers would hit it. And they were so plus EV for 2 years that you could even hit it after that and still win money that year. But now I guess I don't know if it's as sharp. I'm assuming it's not, or it's probably not as close. That's insane. If you can hit it 3 times with groups of people and still make money.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's also, like, that's just free money. That's someone else doing all the work. And that's probably not going to happen. Like, but being a professional sports bettor, I think, is pretty unlikely for an individual. Not just because it's hard and it's like very few people can do it, because you're going to get banned, you're going to get limited, and so you're going to have to play that. Once you figure out how to win, you're going to have to figure out how to get around getting banned too. And people could do it; they do it. So it's not just about figuring out how to model and everything too.
Yeah. I think this is a pretty good conversation about kind of setting some realistic expectations, and also just knowing the uphill battle you have if you are like me and you don't want to do your own modeling. And it kind of brings us back full circle to then how important it is to, like you said, either aggregate the best stuff across the industry or having someone's projections that you really trust, because at the end of the day, you're going to need those projections as the bedrock of your process.
Yeah. Aggregate is like, maybe you're not going to win either just by aggregating and plugging them into an optimizer. I think that's a losing strategy. And it's like, why would you aggregate? So, like, let's say, the example I always give, like the DFS gods came down and gave you the best projections possible. Why would you aggregate that with anything else, right? So, like, if you know someone's projections are more accurate, then you're just making them worse by aggregating with someone's shitty projections. So, and you're not using game theory there either, where some people I've read will, like, they think I'm different because I'm aggregating site X and site Y, so it's going to give me a different exposures than everyone else. Like, yeah, you're different, but the direction of your exposures has no basis in game theory. It's just you're aggregating one shitty projection with a good one, or two shitty ones together, or maybe two good ones together. But that doesn't mean like that your exposures are based in any sort of like statistical analysis.
Yeah, Eli reasons, though, he really brings us back to the matter at hand. Still feel it's kind of unfair you guys haven't touched on the importance of depositing in your DFS process. I mean, this above all is what you have to be good at. Brian can talk about modeling all he wants, but if you don't know how to go to that payment page and sync up your PayPal account and deposit your hard-earned cash onto these DFS sites or to pay for your favorite DFS content providers, you can't win, Brian. You literally can't win unless you know how to deposit and how to deposit well over and over and over again.
Yes. Sports betting is going to be so good for you, man. It's going to be so good. There's going to be so many sports betting sites you can deposit on. I'm going to do a deposit video. I'm not even kidding. I think I told you this. Don't say what it is, though, if I did. About how to actually make money in sports betting with bonuses. And someone will probably beat me to the punch if I don't get around to it. And this is like old school sports betting tips, but it will be purely about depositing. So
that's my dude. I'm going to smash the subscribe button once I see that. Speaking of smashing the subscribe button, how are we looking on the likes over here? Wow. Net 14 likes. Okay. We got 26 people watching. And I do think we had an issue with my Periscope tonight because I think it broadcasted it out, but I don't think it did my tweet. So that is why our numbers are down. So Brian, I mean, neither of us did our PGA research. Do we continue the tradition alive of making a lineup?
I did do ownership. It's up to you.
I mean, I kind of like the tradition. I say we wrap things up by making a Millie Maker lineup.
All right. Let's do it. Why don't you bring that up? And I got one question here we didn't ask.
Oh, yeah, grab it.
From Sean. So do you think – oh, wait, I'm sorry. From Fantasy Sharpie. Do you think your projections are better than several other popular ones around the industry? So I think in the major sports, I think I'm not even 100% positive anymore, tell you the truth. But I think they are better in most of the major sports. In some of the smaller ones, I know they're better. Like, I'm 100% positive. I don't want to call anyone out, but I've looked at someone and they're like, they're not right. Like they don't make any sense compared to the Vegas odds. They're like completely backwards on some of the players and stuff. So, and that's always that's in sports betting too. Smaller markets. Like if you can come up with projections, like League of Legends, the first month there, stuff like that, before people get in. Are we looking at Chase Koepka now?
All right, Eli, I just wanted to make sure I knew what Chase Koepka shot last week. I didn't mean to. I wanted you to finish, though. I was just going to look this up while you were.
Okay. Yeah, I got to bring up my ownership anyways. I think he shot like +9 I want to say
I
it was
don't
called the Workday Champion or Workday Championship, something like that.
Let's see here. So he shot a 161.
I got it. He shot a plus 17
plus 17
in 2 days, obviously.
In 2 days. And the rest of that lineup was kind of decent, wasn't it?
Who do we have? Poulter,
my guy, dude. Come on. Poulter just crushes.
Brooks missed the cut by 1.
Oh, God. Okay. So we were screwed regardless.
Yeah. I think we had a good lineup, though. We changed it. We had like Justin Thomas in there. We changed it.
It proves your point, Brian. We can't keep all these variables in our head.
Yeah, well, this is what we're doing for sure. This is our Malcolm Gladwell lineup.
Yeah, this is after all the stuff we just talked about how important projections are. We literally go, we haven't done our projections. We're going to make a lineup on the fly.
It's fun. Like, why don't people just get the fuck over themselves? They love like pointing out, oh my God, this guy's wrong. It's like, no shit, Sherlock. We know that fucking Vegas Dave doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. You're a real genius. I mean, who hasn't like bet with their buddy, at like a Hawaii football game at 11 at night? You know what I mean? The only game on, like, second half. What do you just want to take the under for shits and giggles? I think I told this story before. Me and my buddy did that. We bet on Hawaii. Whatever. It was like 12 or 1 in the morning. They were down 45-0 at halftime, and the coach was fired mid-game. This is like 5, 6, 7 years ago. I swear he was either fired mid-game or like the minute after the game was over, and we bet them to win. That's how horrible this fucking bet was.
Goodness. What Brian didn't or he forgot to mention is that we are going to start charging for this portion of the show where we make a Millie lineup without projections. It is going to go Patreon only. The rest of the show will continue to be free, but when Brian and I off the hip, fire one of these lineups, we are going to have to start charging you guys.
Patreon / Deposit King.
Yes. I need somewhere to deposit from, guys. We got to keep this snake's tail of depositing going. All right. I literally don't even know where to start. These are all just names for me. Is there any?
I'll tell you some value guys.
Okay.
Well, here's my highest own right now. I have Patrick Cantlay again.
Okay.
25%. John Rahm, 20.7%. Tiger at 22.
Okay, yeah.
And these are just all the value guys. Like Justin Rose, I have is like 5% owned. Pretty bad value up there. I didn't do my typical process, so I don't know what I'm going to be leaning towards yet.
Yeah.
But these are all the value guys. Let's see. I got so let's see. Up top, I kind of like Rory.
Okay, let's do it.
I have him higher projected than the industry folks.
Yeah.
But hopefully I'm wrong and they're right, and he's low owned.
I like it. I also, again, I know very little about golf, but what I did hear for a while is that Rory was the best golfer in the world, and I feel like people have just gotten burned by him in a few of these recent tournaments because he didn't close them out on Sundays. If he's going to be low owned in this field and everyone's going to be wanting to chase Tiger and the de jour Cantlay, let's do some Rory.
I'm taking the over on his ownership compared to the popular sites out there, but hopefully I'm wrong. Like, he's 10-7 is pretty low for him, and he's got a pretty good chance. I have him at second best chance of winning the tournament. And before, the thing with him before with the salaries at like 11-8 and stuff like that, like he basically has to take first. He has to take first or second, and like just a ton of birdie bogeys that cost him first.
Yeah,
to get those points back. But at 10-7, he can be a top 5, something like that.
Tell me, what ownership do you have for my guy Poulter?
Oh God, let's see.
He's got to be inching up there, right?
7.6, and in his bracket of whatever the 200 or 300 salary, he's not that great. So I have like Streelman, Billy Horschel, Byung Hung, and better than him.
This is for ownership or just raw?
No, just like raw projection.
Okay.
Odds to make the cut. T10, T20, stuff like that.
Fine.
But his ownership is lower than all those guys too.
How is that happening? How does he just crush every week and his ownership never gets higher?
Yeah, you were predicting 20 points, 20% this week, weren't you?
I think so. I mean, I'd screw it. We got to put Poulter in there.
Yeah, put him in there. He's dead. That's not bad. Benny Ann's right in there. He's been burning people. Benny Ann and Jordan Spieth, of course. Man, his odds are not great. I still think Spieth's going to win one within a year.
Who else do you like?
Who'd you put in there? I kind of like Benny Ann.
Okay.
That's just my bias of a guy who's been playing like shit.
I love it. We got to zig when everyone else zags.
Who do we like?
What did you have for Ann's ownership?
For who?
Ann.
7.6.
Okay, so
I should probably be adding this up, huh?
So we got a couple 7.6s and whatever you said you had Rory at.
Okay, let me.
I guess I could actually pull something up.
Let me add this in here. All right. So that is 32% almost right now.
Okay, what did we do last time? Were we going for 50?
50. Let's just do that. We don't even know what the max ownership is yet.
So 50 would give us like a 855.
Okay.
Or we can obviously, if we do a total 1%er, it would give us some more flexibility.
And what's our salary? Like 8,000 range? Okay.
Yeah, 8,000 exactly.
Does chat have anyone?
Chat, we need you, chat. Last week you gave us Chase Koepka, so how could we not return to the chat? Eli Reasons, give us your pick. Give us your call. This is a lineup made by the people for the people. We need your assistance to round out this lineup with Rory, Ian, and Benny Ann. Let's see here. This is what happens when I don't run my lineups. That I literally don't even have. I have zero opinions. I have my one guy Poulter, who I've kind of established as part of my Lolz brand, and beyond that, I'm just lost. Yeah,
I'm completely helpless without my model. I honestly would just be clicking names.
What do you have Spieth ownership at?
7.1.
Okay, we have two suggestions from Eli. What about Golden Boy, Jim Furyk? I mean, you had me at Jim Furyk, or Duncan in the mid-6 range. Any of those look good to you?
Well, we don't need to go that low with 8,000, but I guess that means we can get a stud back in there. So we had Duncan a couple weeks ago.
America runs on Duncan.
I run on Duncan. I get that shit almost every day. 60.
Is that your go-to?
Yeah, I like it better than Starbucks.
Oh, that's a hot take.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you get hot coffee or iced coffees?
It's just my contrarian pick. Iced always.
Yeah,
even in the winter. Even in the cold Chicago winter.
Wow. What a serial killer you sound like.
And well, what do you think I need the caffeine for? Tyler Duncan at 1% owned. I have him a little slightly under that. So basically no ownership at 6,300. Super long shot.
Furyk, I believe, missed the cut by 1 last week because
yes, he did. Yeah, me too. What's his salary?
6,500.
65. Man, that is pretty cheap. He's also 800 years old, which you actually think's a benefit.
I think the closer you are to God's door, the better golfer you are.
You've never golfed with my old man then. No. So Furyk, I got 3.7% owned. Pretty good in that range though. You know who he's right next to?
Who?
The Gooch.
Oh man, could the Gooch potentially be on the loose again?
He was good last week. I always like Sebastian Munoz too. He's kind of my new Phil Mickelson comparable.
It sounds like we're just trending towards leaving like $7,000 on the table.
No, we could get, because if we go 65, then we could get like 2 studs.
Okay.
So I don't care. I'll do either of those three: Gooch, Furyk, or Munoz.
Gooch was pretty good last week, wasn't he?
Yeah, he made the cut.
Dude, I think the Gooch is on the loose these days.
You just want to say the Gooch is on the loose. All right, back to the well.
I said I was lost, but if I have Poulter and the Gooch on the loose, I mean, I do see that we smoked out Jake Hari with a little bit of coffee talk. He had been eerily silent for 45 minutes of game theory talk, but he did pop out of his NHL hole to say you've clearly never had a Trenta vanilla iced coffee from Starbucks. Burger Fan says, what are the chances Furyk ends up in a tournament winning lineup before he retires? Pretty good, buddy. Pretty good. Eli's on board with the Gooch top 10. He's giving it the Chase Koepka kiss of death. We have 87.50 remaining for 2 spots. We can obviously head up to a new price range here.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Is Awesemo still all over Jason Day this week?
And we got 35% total ownership, so we got 15 to burn at least. I think he did tweet about that again. I'm not even sure. So,
Eli, I kind of didn't end up taking one of your picks because you suggested Furyk and Duncan, and I, went with my heart with Gooch. So if you have a suggestion in the 8s, let us know.
We have to stay under the cap. I think we have to take. I'm higher on Morikawa than the DFS sites out there in terms of ownership. But he could possibly fit Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, Ricky Fowler. Other than that, I don't think we're not gonna have enough ownership to spare for these other guys.
Okay.
So Morikawa.
What did you? Who?
Dustin Johnson's probably even too high. I have him at 13.1. Morikawa at like 13, 12.6. Brooks Koepka at 11.8. Ricky Fowler at 10.8.
I just want to see how much salary. If we do go Morikawa, that would put us back in the 7,500 range. Could we find like a one?
Yes, that'll definitely keep us there. Yeah, so probably any of those guys will keep us in a.
So which of those guys do you like the best then, of the high price?
God, it's hard not to like Morikawa at that ownership.
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right, so that gives us down to the 7,500 range. Eli was pushing for Tiger. I'm sorry, I think he doesn't fit our ownership criteria. Too popular.
Yeah, I am projected pretty high this week, like 22.6%. I love Tiger. He can't fit in this little game we're playing here.
What about Phil? Phil had a random. What's his ownership? He came out of the woodwork a few weeks.
I'm at 2.9.
2.9. Do you like him from a projection standpoint?
And in his range, yeah, it's just fine. Yeah, all those guys are about the same to me.
Here's Mickelson hasn't played for a few weeks, right?
No, he played a couple weeks ago. He played pretty well. He made the cut. I don't think he played last week though, did he?
In my head, I'm literally just conducting a narrative on the fly that Mickelson steps up his game when Tiger's in the field. I think he sees himself as kind of this race and this legacy with Tiger, and I think he steps up his game. I think he feels disrespected. What do you think with that narrative?
Anyone who wants to play Phil Mickelson, I'm on board, man. I love Phil Mickelson.
You love Phil? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
He made the cut last week and then had a pretty bad Saturday, Sunday. Finished 58th, but made the cut.
Okay. That's all we need. Phil's gonna
pretty cheap. Phil can also, if he has any sort of game, can go birdie bogey, birdie bogey, birdie bogey, birdie bogey, finish 50th or 45th, and still maybe squeak in there with just raw DK points.
That's what I like to hear. All right. I'm spending some crowns. I'm entering this in. There you have it, guys. Thank you for tuning in for an interesting week of Lolz, but I enjoyed the discussion. We started with Tout Wars, and then we got into game theory and modeling. It was good.
Yeah, that was fun.
All right, guys. Well, have a great rest of the week. I still need to make some PGA lineups, but I already know we got the $1 million one right here. So for Brick75, for Colin Morikawa, I'm Pete Overzet. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.